got the next day and kind of cleaned off some of the masked areas and kind of looking at some different things, trying to figure out what we're going to do with regard to this is set up as a unit to move the oil pump without running the motor, so we can kind of prime this guy up when it comes to time, hang it in the car and get it ready for starting it up. We are, I think, going to try to take this carburetor that I've got on the shelf here. Again, just trying to make this thing out of parts that we've got laying around. I went out and bought a kit for it, so I'll get with Dan and we'll see if we can't go through that clean it all up and try to put a decent little thing on there. I've got some stuck secondaries and things like that, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to make this thing work or not, but we'll give it Hades. All right, speaking of which, something I've got to do is I've got to make a picking device for this. And I'm going to try to make something that'll work with not only this, but maybe offset it back here to where, you know, if the transmission's hanging off the back, that we can pick this thing and maybe maneuver it into the vehicle. I've got a different spread on these bolts versus what you would do with a standard little Rochester. So I'm going to try to map those out, taking a look in the scrap yard and seeing what I could find for steel, maybe try to weld something up. I'm going to have to try to catch up with somebody with a plasma cutter. I haven't gotten a plasma cutter yet. You know, it's on my list, something that we need to do down here at Jethro's workshop to be able to cut some nice size holes in that unit to be able to put picking hooks where we want, front to back, so that the centroid of the motor and transmission are accommodatable, if you will, and be able to pick this thing in and out. So I'll just put this thing in time lapse. We'll try to see you on the other side. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you in a bit. Here I'm trying to tell you about these gloves that I got a few years ago. They are so thin and yet do such a great job with keeping the heat away from your fingers or your hands in general. We've got a fairly sharp bit here, and it's a little bit bigger than the bolts, so we're going to go with this drill bit. All right, we finally got these holes positioned that'll work. I'll show you on the other one a little bit. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy and weld him across here, and then we'll cut great big holes in here in order to hook onto the crane to lift the motor up and out. So let me make some marks here. We can do a little cutting and Get this all a little further prepared in case I got that much farther off the back of the motor to go. Let me see if that works. I think that'll work out fine. We'll just let that thing hang off the back. We have another hole back here. That way if the transmission's good and heavy, you know, we can pick all the way back there and still have the motor balance out. All right, well, let's get this thing cut. Again, we use these amazing little gloves. These guys are awesome. I think we got this basically laid out. I need to find somebody with a plasma cutter to cut those slots out that you see there. And then these holes here bolt into both a 4-barrel and a 2-barrel configuration. And we'll weld that solid along there. And that will be what we use to pick motors in and out of cars. So I've seen others have stuff that's pre-made, what have you, and I figured I could make one of these, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so we got this thing pretty well to where it'll fit now. I got it mocked up for welding, but before we weld it, we'll want to see if I can get access to a plasma cutter, or see if my son has access to a means of cutting those holes out like that. Those will be the picking points where the hooks will come through. And this guy here can bolt onto either a Rochester bolt pattern or this spread bore 4-barrel pattern. And it's fairly tight, you know, but you get some nuts on that'll work pretty good. And again, that rail will be up there to where we can pick it all the way from back here to all the way up there, depending on how the transmission and engine configuration work as far as its centroid goes. So I think from that, I want to thank you all again for watching. I'm going to go ahead and clean things up and head for the house. Thanks again. Really appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk at you later. Bye now.